Strive for improvement, time for the blueprint. Minds to elevate, thrive, and demonstrate, planting a movement. Sow the seeds, educate the flourish, building up the team. Our network with purpose, industry is green. Only scratch the surface, know this call is deep. Nobody gon' outwork us. Yeah, we chasing greatness, trying to give the code. Moving up with patience, foundation stone. Doing what it takes, we're here to break the mold. This for anyone who wanna level up, let's grow.
What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Plant Movement Podcast. I am your host, Willie Rodriguez. Guys, I'm so excited today. Like, I've been pumped all day. And we are here with the boys from Showtime Landscaping. And it really is showtime here. They brought us to their palace, their compound where they live, where they have everything going on. And what they've been able to do here is literally crazy. I feel like I'm in Disney World. I feel like I'm in another place. And they really bring design and just the whole thing of, like, let's say, life and what's meaningful and creating things and just what they bring to the table is so special. I know this episode is gonna impact a lot of you guys, just from how they think to what they've been able to do. I encourage all of you guys, when you're done listening to this podcast, to go on social media, go to Instagram and type in Showtime. What is it? Showtime what?
Exterior Design.
Showtime Exterior Design. Check out what they got going on. These guys are just out of the box. They're different. I have dealt with a lot of people, a lot of landscapers, a lot of designers in my career, like thousands of them at this point. And it's not hard to see what's special in these guys. And the work and just hanging out with them. I've only hung out with them for an hour so far, and it's been awesome. So thank you guys for allowing us to come to your beautiful compound.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Great to have you here, Willie.
Thank you. And the story's insane, guys. It's a father with two sons and everything else that they've creating opportunities for so many people and memories and just their clients and guys. And, man, hold on tight, boys and girls.
It's going to be a good one.
It's going to be a good one. So, guys, introduce yourself. You can go first. Pops.
Yep, Martin Fox, Showtime Landscaping, incorporated 1990. Been doing it for over 40 years because I did it for 8 years before I incorporated.
Okay.
So, been putting a plant or two in the ground and creating, escape designs ever since.
Escape designs. Listen to the wording, guys. For real, listen to the wording. You have your boys with you.
The younger son, Shane Fox.
Shane.
I'm the artificial turf, artificial ivy. We do putting greens.
That's what you specialize in?
Exactly.
Okay.
Everything, outside with greenery that's artificial.
Okay.
Or the greenscapes.
Okay. And you?
And I'm the hardscape specialist with Showtime Exterior Design. Skyler Fox, yep.
Mm-hmm.
Showtime Exterior Design started in about 4 years ago, 2020. And I do hardscapes. Shane does the softscapes, and my dad comes in and does the cherry on the top with the beautiful plants and ends the job.
You started 4 years ago, Shane? I mean, Skyler?
4 years ago doing concrete design.
Oh.
And exterior design.
Because everything, I know your dad has a background in it, but for
Yeah.
4 years you're pretty good.
On my own, doing my
On
own thing
your
with
own.
the exterior design.
Yeah.
So I go in, meet a client, and then I design, lay it all out. Shane, what do you think? Martin, Dad, what do you think? Let's lay it all out, and go in there and do a rock star job.
Yeah, 100%. How many guys work with you guys?
It varies on project to project. We got probably close to 15 in-house, but the great thing and the way we've trained everybody is they're all specialists in all different areas.
Okay.
So every day we pick it out of our pool who's going where and doing what as far as what needs to be done. So they're all moving parts. So there are guys that are really good maybe doing one thing, but they can do everything really well at the same time. So
Okay.
they're all interchangeable.
So you're a person that sees a light in somebody, that they're good at something, and you don't keep them, let's say, held back somewhere. You want them to have their full potential.
You got to be well-rounded. You
Okay.
got to be able to do a little bit of everything because that's what we're asking of you. Because the beauty of what we do is every day is different.
Yeah.
And that's what's kind of, motivated me over these years to still be passionate. I think one of the gifts that I feel I've been blessed with is I'm still passionate after 40 years
It
of
shows.
doing this, and getting up because every day is different. And your mind never turns off. You're thinking about the next project or the next focal point at somebody's house all the time.
Yeah.
So, you're just kind of, treating it as, the first time that you're doing it. So
Yeah.
that's a blessing in my world,
No, 100%. To see you after 40 years still pumped. No, listen, I'm in an area of town that people are trying to cash out and leave. You know, so the passion is there, but now there's something else, you know, and the passion's, let's say, dying off. So for you to say that after 40 years and then be here with your boys, being able to feed into them, and then they have you to ask questions to, you know, as a mentor, to guide in just so many ways. You yourself have been married for how long, sir?
32 years.
32
but we dated
years.
for 10 years.
So 42.
So I think I have a little bit of a consistency habit
I
with
see
what
that.
I do.
I
you
see
know?
that.
And that's really something that you look for long term, because you visualize. What I feel we do is visualize long term. So
future.
even when I started, I knew I was going to do this forever. Whereas most people are like, it's just you're passing through our industry and not putting any roots down, pardon the pun. But I feel like if you look at it that way, you're going to do a better job. So you're going to put in quality. You're going to do the job right, because you want that tree to be unbelievable generations from now,
Exactly.
right? And, you know, creating canopy. And so you're always picking, you know, what I call the puzzle. You're putting the best plants in the best places to perform the best. And that's kind of the moving parts. Whereas most people, they grow 3 types of plants and they're going to put them on every job, whether they work or not, because they grow them. If you walk out in our nursery in the back here, we have a 3-acre ornamental and field nursery. There's a wide range of material out there from everything. So we basically go out and plug our specimens in the right locations to make it work.
Yeah, that's a big deal. So I categorize you. I categorize you guys in a different category than obviously other landscapers. There's all different types. There's the cookie cutter types, the guys that work for the home builders. Then there's the guys that do the $3,000 to $5,000 regular landscapes. They're using red sisters, some trinettes, some mulch, right?
Yeah,
And there's
absolutely.
nothing wrong with it. I see it as there's different niches, and then you got the guys that are doing real big, lush, tropical, lavish things that they're putting, you know, 5,000 plants where you can only put 2,000.
Absolutely.
And then there's people like you guys that really come in full vision
specialty.
design. That's different, because you guys do a lot of stone work, you do a lot of concrete work. You've taken me into your tree houses and all this stuff where you guys have design studios up top, and the attention to detail, like in the room we're sitting in now. We're going to talk about it, but this is a mimic of a church that was in Brazil that the guy from the created Burley Marx. Like this is where we're at, guys. We're in this church that's a bunker, and it's made out of concrete, and it's super strong, and it's very creative, very different. What started your passion into this industry? Because we were talking earlier, and you're fatherless. You don't know who your father is. So how did you get, because that's the biggest thing that we've come across, is that for the youth to get involved in the industry, or someone that's mid-age that they want to jump in, but they don't have the background, they don't have the parents that have done it before. There's not really a playbook of how to do it. And that's something that we want to educate people on. But how did you get into this industry?
Well, we're going to get psychoanalytical today.
Let's
I
do
love
it.
it. All right.
Let's do it.
All right, my doctor, Dr. Willie. So,
Psychiatrist.
so like you mentioned, fatherless, mother worked 2 jobs as a nurse, 2 shifts, grew up by myself literally since the 4th grade. I was really good at athletics. And when I finished high school, I've got scholarships for baseball and football to go to different schools. I could not do that because I had to go support myself, because I was basically, if I wanted to drive, I had to pay for my gas, pay for my insurance. So I couldn't go to school, essentially, so I ended up going to work. So I basically wanted, you know, to carry that passion of competitiveness that I had at a high level in athletics into the field. So I wanted to be the best and be better than anybody else that was out there. So it meant working harder and doing something different. So I basically, you know, wanted to be passionate about what I did. And, you know, I basically, you know, for lack of a better word, I outworked everybody initially coming on. So,
But what made you get into the
I
industry?
wanted to create escape, because, you know, to me, you know, growing up by myself, I felt like when I went into, you know, for instance, like Walt Disney World as a kid, I would go into a place and get away from things. So I wanted to kind of have that escape. It's the only place that really made me feel good is going into a fantasy land, essentially, right? So when I got out of school, I ended up, you know, high school, I ended up, you know, wanting to create these really elaborate gardens. And
What made you get into that? What influenced you to get into that?
so
Because that's not normal. You don't just wake up and you're like, oh, I want to do lavish landscapes.
MacArthur Horticulture.
yeah, so high school, I had one of the best horticulture programs in the country at MacArthur
And
in
you
Hollywood.
took that
I had a
class?
professor there, Ron Purcell. You almost can say he was like a father to me in high school. That the father figure that I never had, and he you know, elevated me and pushed me more than
What a blessing.
any male I ever had in my life.
That's a big impact.
We installed over $1 million of landscaping on school grounds in my 4 years there at high school.
Wow.
So we got all kind of recognition, got all kind of awards. I got interviewed on TV. I was interviewed, through different, local TV stations of the stuff that we were doing there. So getting that positive feedback was really the root of all this. So
Wow.
people are like, wow, look at this young kid doing this kind of stuff. And that's kind of what took me to the next level.
And this is in what, the 70s, the 80s?
This is mid-'80s.
Mid-'80s.
Mid-'80s,
Okay.
yeah. So that, I guess you can say, was the root,
Started
it.
Yeah.
The spark,
Yeah.
the light bulb.
Yeah, so then it's just, that feedback that we were getting was like, oh my God, this guy's doing some, amazing stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it just became referral. I didn't advertise, it was all like, who's doing your work.
Yeah,
So
word of mouth.
it just kind of spread that way that, this young, 20s kid was doing some pretty big stuff
Mm-hmm.
for the time. And it just kind of snowballed from there. So creating that what I call theme was what made me do what I wanted to do and do something different rather than just putting in fillers. Like, so for instance, there's landscapes. And to me, that's when you drive by a house and you've got 3 queen palms tucked up against the house, a hedge of ixoras tucked up against the house. That's a landscape. You drive by it. To me, I was like, let's create a garden. Let's take those same concepts, but pull them away from the house out in the front and make it interactive. You're getting more of a 3D effect. So you're still framing the house, you're still, putting something in front of the window, a focal point, but at the same time, you're making it 3-dimensional where you're involved in the landscape. And so it's just a matter of rearranging in a perspective of how you wanted to create a design.
I always love the story, tell Willie about Grandma's house and how I used to give tours.
Oh gosh. So when I was literally 10, 11 years old, I came back. I did Disney once, and it was a life-changing event because my mom worked so hard. No lie, my mom would take 2 days to drive to Disney World. 2 days, all right.
Where were you living at?
In Hollywood, Florida.
Oh, okay.
So, but my mom drove 40 miles an hour. She wouldn't get on the highway.
Oh,
and it was
back roads.
Yeah, so that's kind of
27.
27. We'd stop halfway, and the next day get there. True
Highway
story.
27,
True
guys.
story. So we're in the early 70s, and I went to Disney World and Frontierland, Adventureland. Life-changing, right? So I brought that concept home. I had rubber spiders, rubber snakes, had a hose in the tree, and I made my own little mini Disney World Adventureland park in the back. But here's what happened. So I charged all the kids in the neighborhood, that's when every house had kids in it, a quarter to go through the tour. I made $22 in a day on quarters of just giving this
That's a
little
lot of
tour.
people.
So those images were just embedded in me to people, this is what people want to do. They want to escape.
Yeah.
They want to go in the unknown of going in, and even though everything I had, the skeleton heads were resting in the trees, whatever I can pick and collect,
Very creative.
And then just fast forward, you do the same thing, but now you're adding real events, real materials, real, kind of, attractions, with plants.
So
and
you did that at
features.
Grandma's. That's what he did at Grandma's.
Yeah.
So how did you transition? Because the first half of this podcast is about you, right? The first story is about you. Then we get to the boys.
Okay.
How did you transition from, let's say, going and knowing that you were passionate about that? Because that's kind of like finding purpose, into actually making it for a client. How did that go?
Okay, so I was blessed. So my whole life was that Disney experience when I went there that one time.
So you went to Disney one time and it's changed your
with my
life.
mom.
Talk
Yep.
about influence,
and
guys.
it was actually a pretty traumatic experience because my mom was terrified. She was a white knuckle driver. She'd never been that far in her life. She's very conservative by nature, and she was just single mom kind of mentality. So I didn't want to go back with her again because, like I say, it was like, lock the hotel door and put the deadbolts on with the furniture up against it because the bad guys were coming. This is before, the world that we're living today. So, so that one experience, so I always wanted to go back to Disney, and it was always my dream to work for Disney.
Okay.
But work in the horticulture world at Disney. So I was able to do that in the late 80s, in the biggest time of Disney's expansion in their history. Eisner just took over the company. They did more capital improvements in the 2 years I was there in 88 and 89 since they've done before or since combined. We put in so many new lands up in there and attractions while I was there. It was phenomenal. And then they stopped after 89 when MGM Studios was built. And then they went to maintenance, and I said, I can't do this anymore, because I was part of the creative process when I was there. And then they stopped all the creative, capital improvements, and then they just went to full maintenance. And I'm like, we were tearing out beautiful flowers that hadn't even peaked yet and just replacing them. And it was like, I was on this treadmill.
You got tired of it.
I got tired of it. I was bored after doing stuff, because they allowed me a lot of freedom up there. Started out as just basic entry labor horticulturist, and I worked my way up to head of topiaries. So I was in charge of all the topiaries on Disney property, and did a lot of really cool things under my suggestion when I was there. But one of them was, we moved all the topiaries that were out near TTC, which is a Ticket and Transportation Center, where the monorails are and the ferry boats and whatnot. We had 13 of them there that we spent majority of our time on. And when I watched one morning, all the people getting to the ticket booth, they would run to the monorail. Nobody was paying attention to anything. We were putting so much time and energy into these topiaries. I made a play to get these topiaries now in the park and move them across Bay Lake so people can enjoy them. And they did. So there's little things that you just observe. And even on Disney scale, as if somebody who's only been there a year, I was able to make some changes. And another one of my favorite stories was I worked with Bill Evans, who was Walt Disney's personal gardener. And I was with him when he was 88 years old in 1988. It was one of the last times he was around and alive. And he came and walked the property, and every area they were allowed to have one representative go on this 12-person tour with him and walk the grounds and critique the grounds. And so I was selected because they knew I was cut differently. And they're like, this dude, it needs to be representing Adventureland. So I ended up going on the tour, and I worked my way to the front of the line, and I was walking around with him. And if you look up Bill Evans, he's legendary for Walt's personal gardener out in California. And then he eventually brought him to Walt Disney World. We went over to the Haunted Mansion, and we're all looking at it from afar, and he's like, what do you guys think of this? And everybody's like, oh, we love it, I love, all that. And I said, it's got too much color, it's got too much life. I said, it doesn't go with the theme of the building. And he looked at me, he goes, what do you mean? I said, this should have some ornamental grasses out here and not all these flowers. I go, this is a haunted mansion. You don't see life and color in front of a haunted mansion. Wow. And he's like, who are you, son? What's your name? Wow. Lo and behold, he went back and made some calls, and next thing you know, they took out all the flowers and everything, and they still had plants there, but they were ornamental ornamental grasses rather, that could flower and whatnot. So those are just little details. So again, life's about details and basically expectations. So when people see something, they get used to it for better or for worse, but they only know it for what it is. But if you elevate it and change it and make it better, then they're like, oh, it could be something different. Yeah. So that's really what it comes down to. So it's really, even at Disney, who everybody thought was okay, you can still tweak it and make it better. Oh, so that challenge brought me down here then. So I'm there for 2 years, and you have to go to what they call Disney University when you're there, no matter what job you have there on property. And they tell you when you're with the guest, you're on stage. And when you're behind scenes, like we were most of the time in the horticulture world, you're off stage, okay? So they have terms like, you're part of the show, or you're behind the scenes, and it's all basically like Broadway terms, as far as, the way
everything's ran.
Ran and expectations of it. Mm-hmm. So when I left there, I said, it's showtime, because we were always part of the show, and that's the elevation. That's one of the biggest ways I got my name, Showtime Landscaping, when I came home and incorporated in 1990, the year later. So literally, I wasn't even here a few months. Around. I said, you know what, this is it. So again, it's about the vision, and I knew then. I found my thing, I knew this is what I love, and I can't go anywhere that's better than Disney. So now I need to make it for myself and just kind of elevate that and take it to the next level. And I'm going to do it forever, so that's why I mentioned on the way in, I have my original truck sitting outside of the church here from 1990. And we airbrushed it. Mm-hmm. And I spent like $3,000 on an airbrush in 1990 with a good friend of mine, Pasta from the Keys, who's the number one marine artist in Islamorada. And they're like, what are you, crazy, putting $3,000 in a work truck? That truck's going to be with me forever. And I don't want to just put a magnetic sign on there, which was the only other option at the time, because wraps didn't exist back then. Yeah. So it was like, if you're going to do something, go big, do it right, and make it last.
Yeah. No, I see that, and just thinking about that too, like your mindset, like everything that you had going on in your life, you had the $3,000 and you wanted to spend it on this, and people can influence you in a negative way by you telling them, and then they tell you, no, why are you crazy? Why are you doing this? And look what it is today.
Just gotta go for it.
You just gotta go for it. You can't. There's no one has the answer at the end of the day. And then like listening to your story, you manifested without even really paying attention. Maybe at that time, like this is what I want to do, and you made it happen. You put that into the world, and you got it back. And the schooling that you got, the opportunities that you got to just be with the lead designer for Disney, be in some of the biggest things that are still there today. Disney to me is a place where I go with my kids, and I love just the plants and just everything how it is, the attention to detail, everything. Like as a company, you go on their cruises as as a company, they are. There's nothing better.
You have an expectation.
You want to learn how to run a business very well. Go there and pay attention to what's going on from everybody. Like I said, it's Showtime. That's what it is over there, and you get that the experience, and they do a very good job doing it. But from there, you're able to bring it here and continue to your manner, not being under anybody's belt, being able to create just, what did you call it? Pieces for people to hang out. What was the term you used? Escapes.
Yeah. Escape themes.
Escape themes for people's either yards or I'm sure you guys have worked for hotels or like who do you guys, like your clients are obviously the top 1% of, let's say, a homeowner wanting to do something like what you guys do here. And put it in their house, but I'm sure commercial side has been bigger for you guys, or it's more the personal.
It's always personal on a creative level because they have more freedom to do something. Generally when we get into commercial, it's already been done, and they've already mainstreamed it to them. They don't have as much flexibility or creative freedom.
So many different people.
Yeah, because you got to.
No, I get that. I get that.
So we definitely roll better with the private client.
How does that normally happen? Sorry, how does that normally happen? You get a customer that calls and says, "Hey, I want to do this." You go and you say, "What's your budget? 300. Let's go." I'll figure it out.
Every job is different. It's a referral thing because somebody's told somebody or seen something or been at somebody's house and they're like, oh my God, I thought my landscaping was nice, but this is, who's done yours, you know? So we've already basically got our foot in the door. It's just a matter of coming up with the budget of what they want to do. And in today's world, they don't really care about the names of the plants like they used to once upon a time. They just want to know what it does, and what that feeling or mood is, part of that theme that you're trying to,
create,
design. Yeah. So, it's just, getting your foot in the door from something that they've seen. They say, we trust you. We know you're legit. You're the real deal, and you've been doing this for a while, so you have experience, which is huge.
Word of mouth is the best referral.
Yeah,
100%. And then you're a creative person, designer. Do you guys put it all in paper? You use 3D renderings, like?
Yes.
Or it's a little bit of everything.
It's everything. Every client is different. Some can visualize and just, almost say, we trust you. And some are the other end of 180 and saying, I need to know exactly what's going where. And we'll come up with what we have now is a 3D rendering. We can come up and literally fly you through a landscape. And every little detail of your property is on that design.
And you have a girl that's upstairs doing that.
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah.
Robin's our 3D artist. Environment artist.
And then let's jump into this. Thank you, man. Very good. Very, very good. We'll jump back to you.
All right.
So where we're at, guys, like I said, we're in their compound. Tell us about this one building that you have where she gets to work. What is that room called?
We have it classified as Treehouse HQ, Treehouse headquarters, or AKA Robin's Nest.
Explain to us what that is visually for the people listening in their car or anything like that.
It's a 3-story concrete structure. At the bottom is one big cave, and then it's sitting in a tree. And her office is one big office that is wrapped with wood, and it looks like we hand carved it or handmade it out of wood planks. And she sits up in the top of a treehouse 2 stories up, and you go in there, it's dark. It's kind of, our think tank where she goes up there and we sit for hours and we talk about social media with Diego. We talk 3D renderings, clients, ideas. We have all kinds. It's our think tank up there.
I love that because
we're up there for hours.
It allows you to work, well, like I said, on the business and not in. So you get there and you close the door and there's nothing else clouding you.
Close
and
that
it's all
door and we're in
focused.
a different world.
You're in a different
We're
world.
surrounded by the trees, and you're literally in a treehouse, but it's concrete.
Yeah.
Fully air conditioning.
Yeah.
No,
As
guys,
we're sitting here at 98
guys,
degrees today.
Guys, this is state of the art. Like I'm explaining to you guys. I've been in the industry a long time, and I'm blown away just by what these guys can think of more than anything. Forget about what's been done. Just for them to think of that and then actually do that. There's so many people, you guys listening right now, that you're doubting yourself. And you're like, man, why should I do this? But look what Johnny told me. Johnny told me this. It's like, guys, you're listening to three guys that the father started this thing, and is so creative and puts it on paper and then gets it done. That right there is why they are where they are today, and why they've been able to do what they've done and create the masterpieces that they create. I feel very blessed to be sitting with you guys, because you guys just think outside the box, and you guys are go-getters, and it resonates. Like I said, I've only known you for an hour and a half now, and I feel a high energy with you guys. I feel like we could be family.
We all push each other.
Yeah.
Shane will come up with new ideas. We try to be different. Like you said from the beginning, we get a little one-off. You know what I mean? Someone might lay turf this way, but let's put a little twist to it just to separate ourselves and show who we are. We always have to have that Showtime touch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Everything's different that I've seen on social media that you guys have posted. And now I'm here, and now I know that everything's different. So thank you for explaining that. It's very hard to explain the oasis that we're in, guys. Now that we're talking about that, talk to us about this, because you guys are so connected to what life is, and you're connected in a different way. And like the room that we're in, guys, explain to them what this is, where this came from, the idea, who it is, and just listen to this, guys. This is an idea. Listen to this. It's an idea that I am sitting in today. We're recording a podcast in.
So the idea originated, I'll backtrack. I love to travel, and that's what inspires me. I love to travel, and I like to go to new places that people don't go to.
The remote areas.
The remote areas. So I actually went on my 30th birthday to Rio, and my fiance wasn't happy about it. We went to Copacabana for about an hour, and I said,
Let's
what?
go to the jungle.
We're driving 3 hours to Roberto Burley Marx. I heard about him in my entire life with my dad.
Who is that? Explain that
He's
for
one
the
of
people who don't know.
He's one of the most famous landscape architects on the planet.
Okay.
And he passed away, I believe, in 96 or 94. So I told Catalina, my fiance, and I said, I hate to do this to you, but we're going to take an Uber 3 hours into the jungle, into Rio. And we drove 3 hours. We lost signal with our Uber driver. I had the old school map. We're trying to find it. Literally showed up. Guy dropped us off. I was like, all right, I don't know how we're going to get back, but let's just enjoy ourselves while we're here. Magical. We went to his secret gardens, things
Where was this place exactly? What's the name of the place? Do you remember?
It didn't even have a name.
It doesn't have a name.
There was no town or nothing.
No tourists, no nothing?
Yeah, no tourists.
No, the book is here, but I'm talking about the actual like town or city that he was in.
No, it's technically in Rio. They say
Okay.
it's in Rio, but it's 3 hours south of Rio.
Okay.
2.5. And we showed up, and he's got hundreds of acres. I forget the amount. It was like 400, 500 acres, just on a hillside, and it's all beautifully manicured. You have to Google it. It's spectacular. Water features.
What's the name of it? Oh, it's this place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sitio. That's
Sitio. CITIO.
Roberto Burley Marx.
Burley
Yep.
Marx.
This is where he got a lot of
And
his
thi-
inspiration.
And this is the guy that created the Burley Marx plant.
So
the
when I was
philodendron?
there, they said he had 7 different species of plants.
Okay.
Bromeliads.
That he
trees,
found, or they created through tissue culture and stuff
They
like
were
that.
named after
A little
him.
bit of both.
They were named
A
after.
little bit of both, yeah. But I learned a lot from that trip, and I take ideas from that, take tons of photos, ideas, inspiration. I loved how he, in Sao Paulo, instead of taking old marble buildings and just throwing the marble away, he would actually collect them, bring them to his property, and he would create these figures and sculptures with them, and it was all recycled. They were throwing it away. He saved it. He salvaged it, and it was beautiful. Got to check it out on his website. But back to where we're sitting right now.
You go over there.
I went over there on a tour, and we're going on this hillside. We're walking. It's like today, 100 degrees. It's hot. We're sweaty, and we look up on the hillside, and there was a beautiful church, and everything. There's trails, bromeliads, amazing rare trees, things that you you never seen before, in South Florida. And I've been around landscaping my entire life, and I know, 90% of the plants out there. There was things that I was like, wow, monsteras that were 5 stories tall, cascading down, just like I got photos.
Beautiful, man.
And I had Catalina who's just taking pictures of me. And I see this church, and I asked our tour guide, I said, what's that? She goes, that church, when he bought the property, he was there, and he kept it in session every Sunday. People would come and serve, or come to church, and it was on site. He never on his property. He never took it down, and he kept it going for year after year until he passed away. And they still have church to this day.
Wow.
And it was amazing. And I love that. So I took tons of pictures. It inspired me to build this building. So I came back and I told my dad, we were talking about what we wanted to do for our new office idea. Because we wanted to have Robin have her own space, and we need to have, separate. That's where we think, and this is, like you said, this is where the business is in the business right here. And I love that idea. So I came back and I said, Dad, I got the idea. I took out all these photos, I printed them all out. We started laying out this office, and it's pretty much, pretty close to it. A little smaller, but if you look at it from the outside, it looks pretty identical.
Yeah. Wow. No, and it's beautiful, guys. The attention to detail, like everything. There's, it's hard to explain it. You gotta go on Instagram. Maybe we do something, or you go on theirs and check out. I don't know, man. This place is very special. You guys will end up doing tours here one day.
Yep.
Yeah, it's very spiritual. When you go to work, you want to feel good about it, especially when you're in a creative angle of what we do. So as soon as you get here, you feel you're in a sacred space, for lack of a better word. And I just feel like this gives you the foundation of what your day is going to become. I'm a big believer in the Mount Rushmore of things. I always try to eliminate and get things down to a handful of size of decisions, because we're exposed to everything, right? Like, what plant do you want to use on the next job, for instance? We have 100 varieties that we need, let's get it down to a handful, what's going to work best. And that's kind of how our day rolls, and that's how I feel like I start my day. So I feel like, simplify it, it's like the 4 S's. In the morning, cup of coffee, let's put my feet in the soil. I'm going to walk out and touch the earth, all right? That's where we're starting the day, walking around before anybody's around at 6:30 in the morning. What's the day going to be like? You're excited, like, the first day, you're starting a new project. Then you're coming out, and you're seeing the sun. The sun's breaking over the horizon, 6:45, 7 o'clock, and you got the earth and, vitamin D in your soul, and you're getting ready to attack the day. Then what stimulates you? You got to have some stimuli to kind of get your juices flowing, right? So what are we trying to accomplish today? What is the goal of today, right, with your stimuli? And then at the end of the day, you have to sweat. You got to have everything come out of you in order to be reborn for the next day and new cells to kind of regenerate. And that's kind of, if you get through that and you attack it like that, life is great. And that's the foundation. And that's how, it's simple, but no matter where I'm at, any day I'm walking the earth before anybody else. And I feel like that's, if you get ahead of people, you're beating them, right? If the people are starting at 8 and 9 and you're out at 6 and 6:30, you're already ahead of it, and that's always been my mentality ever since I started working at 16,
I see nothing but the right perspective. You wear the right lenses. Not everybody thinks like you. We need more people that think like you. I don't want to leave you hanging over there, bro.
Oh, good. I'm just taking it in.
We would travel. So I think I got the travel bug from my dad. We traveled to almost all 50 states.
Okay.
And every state we would go to, if they had one, botanical gardens. So that's what kind of inspires me. I was in El Salvador. Everybody thinks it's so dangerous. I went to the botanical gardens there.
Yeah, nothing. They're not going to kill you there.
No. So I go to the botanical gardens and I just love it. I want to see different things and things like in nature, like at their peak. But we would travel, and me and Shane would be like, "Oh man, another botanical gardens." Like we'd be in New York City.
When you're a kid.
When we're a kid, we're like, we're going to botanical gardens
again.
But then year after year, it kind of started dawning on me, growing on me. Each year, like, okay, let's go see what they got in this one. Then I was finding the botanical gardens in the places before we were going on the trips, and I was showing him. Yeah. So he kind of, rubbed off on me on that aspect. And now I took it to another level. Now I'm doing it in other countries.
You're doing it
in other
traveling
countries.
and looking at things.
And other countries, botanical gardens.
No, the inspiration you get from that, dude, and just life in general, you get to see not just, let's say, places like that and nature, but you also get to see other cultures.
I was just going to say cultures,
Yeah,
food.
man, which is big. Yeah.
Exactly.
It gives your perspective can change big time.
And I also relate to clients, you know what I mean? If clients, say they're from a certain country, I can relate to them, and we can, I like to design off of, the client.
Yeah, no, and
You know
it gives you a huge edge.
Exactly.
How many people travel? How many people invest in themselves? Let's start there.
Yeah.
When you think of all of that, like the edge. First of all, who else does this stuff, right? The niche is so small, first of all. And then your niche, who else does that? No one. You guys are in your own niche. You're in a niche, but you're in your own niche. No one is like Showtime. There's someone else that they're great at what they do. I'm not saying you guys are the best, because I don't know who the best is. But what you guys bring to the table is different. It's your life, your experiences, and you tie it all in together. Guys, the other building we're in has shells in a bathroom that it looks like the Flintstone bathroom. And the toilet's up on a rock, and then the sink is a big boulder that's chipped away. Like it's different. You pull a string to flush the toilet that's coming out of a rock.
Old school.
The doorway's 700 pounds.
Different.
It's different, but it's done. No one. You guys
you
got.
can think
nothing.
about it, but are you actually going to do it?
You're gonna do it, yeah. And then like you think about it, like I'm a big believer in whatever your purpose is in life. Whatever you need in that tool bag to get it done, God will give you that tool, right? So for this tool, what I'm going to use now is money, right? I'm going to use money as an example. You guys get 0 ROI on any of the things that you have spent money on here in this property.
Yep.
There's 0 ROI. But when you look at it, it is a masterpiece that gives you guys just light. Look at how your dad's been in the industry for 42 years, and look how hype he is. He's more hyped than you guys. He's got to smack you in the morning. Will hype you guys up.
No shot.
So I think about what that does and the ROI there, right? When you're looking at life and you're looking at, things that from an investment standpoint, what the return that you get from having this place, from being here, from actually doing it, putting it from your mind to paper and saying, you know what, we're going to spend $100 grand or $80 grand. We're going to build this. I don't care what it costs. I want this, and we're going to do this. Like, you guys are doing something that is in that realm of the Raymond Jungle guys and Mr. Burley Marks, like doing something big in your own scale, in your hometown, putting you guys on the map in a big way and offering it to people. Like, it goes back to what you said, that it's an escape. It's an escape, and that's where I feel. I don't feel I'm in a bunker that's shaped like a church from the middle of nowhere.
Anymore. You don't feel like you're in Broward County.
Broward,
Right.
Where's that?
Yeah.
And then like you tie in the culture, you tie in all this, where you guys can go to a client's house. They can be from somewhere else, and you relate to them. You can be like, oh, I went to this. Oh yeah, oh yes, yeah, that's it. Who else is gonna have an opportunity to get that job? No one. You guys.
It happens all the time.
And then the word of mouth thing, where like you guys are fluent on social media, and you guys have a social media guy and a videographer and all of that stuff. But I see that more of like a portfolio for you guys, and then you guys are creative on it. You guys stand outside the box. You're not scared to be yourselves, and it's like a day in the life type thing. And I love that because it shows you guys are real.
Yeah, we're trying not to be contractors. We're trying to be design artists.
No,
you're
you're being in people's lives. It's way deeper than that, because you're building something that is coming from your soul, because you love what you do, and then you're leaving it somewhere, and those people are paying for it, but they love it just as much as you do. So there's a connection there that'll last a lifetime, and they'll tell stories about you guys for generations to come.
Absolutely.
You guys are different than other people in this industry.
Yeah, some of the best rewards I've had is now I'm working for some of my clients' kids.
Wow.
Because they're in their 20s and almost 30 now, and they're building their own houses.
Wow.
And now I've did their parents, 25, 30 years ago. So now it's, the next generation. But yeah, when people come home, people are grinding out there, right, man? They're working, 10, 12 hours a day. They want to come home. They want to have it turnkey. They don't want to have any issues. We create these spaces for them to go out and unwind in. And that's really what, our goal is. So if they can feel good hanging out at night, hanging out on the weekends, having friends and family over, and giving them that space that's different, that we've accomplished what we set out to do.
Our job.
Yeah. I mean, that's really what our goal is, and like he says, we just try to look at things a little differently, hey, this is what everybody's doing. Let's just do this a little differently and we can make it better, and it's a blessing and a curse, because anything that's being done out there, you ride by and you critique it, right? And it's almost unfair to a degree, but you're like, man, I would have did that, or that's going to be a problem in 2 years, or why did they plant that too close to that, or they're going to regret that, your mind never shuts off, and you're constantly going through like a computer and picking out all the pros and cons on a job that
that you would have done differently,
that you should have been done. Because the biggest thing I'll say about that is that nobody thinks long term. Like, hey, we're putting that tree in under the power lines. We're putting that tree in way too close to the pool or driveway. So you have to think 30, 40 years if you want to do it right. What's that tree going to evolve into? What kind of mess, is going to be involved with, the plants?
How booked are you guys? Are you booked out?
Yeah, we stay a month out. We stay a month out, but we'll have one project that we work on maybe for a year. We're on a project right now. We're going into our third year.
Okay.
So it's phases. Yeah. So we'll tackle a phase 3-4 months. Then we'll get into the next phase 3-4 months.
Different crews, like he was saying. Everybody has their own little niche. You know what I mean? Each crew. So usually I would come in with the concrete division, then Shane will come in after, and then my dad will come in at the end. So we all
do the pavers and stuff too, you guys?
Exactly.
So you do pavers.
Everything exterior.
Everything
exterior. Pergolas, outdoor kitchens.
So it's not just this wild thing that I'm in.
You name it all.
No.
We do.
You do high end, modern. You can do goofy, funky, cartoon. You can do it all.
We can do it all.
We can do it all.
We tend to the client. Whatever they want, we can do.
The architecture of the house dictates what our design
what
is going to
should be there.
What should be there, right? You're steered by that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of our directive force. But there's different ways to get there.
Okay.
Like you said, modern. And I'm kind of anti-modern because it's very minimalistic to a degree.
There's no flavor.
So we put maybe a Tropasian spin on it. It's tropical Asian. So we add something with some sculpture design to it. And it's more interesting than just some Sansevieras and boulders,
Of course, yeah.
So we just kind of, bring it up to speed with some more eye candy in a sense, and something
That's the creative side.
Right. So every property has a focal point or a high energy area that you see, whether it's from inside or the approach, and you concentrate on that, and you want to put something really special in that area. And that's like center stage. So you treat every design as a stage or Broadway, and then you kind of you have your star, and then you have your supporting, and then you have your fillers, and that all makes up theater. And that's really what you're doing for good design. And so you don't want too many stars, and you don't want too many fillers. You have to have a balance of all of them based on the scale that's there. And that's how you kind of approach a good design.
That's gold, guys. I hope you guys listen to what he just told you. Not too many people think like that.
Yeah.
But it's very true. Like, if you're paying attention to that and you're going off of that, then everything else is going to flow. But you got to see it from day one. So I want to get to you, man. I don't want to leave you hanging out here. Your dad's sucking up all the light.
He's the heartbeat.
He's the heartbeat. So how'd you get into what you're into now?
Went to college, Florida State, got my bachelor's, master's in business, business administration.
Okay.
Came back in 2019.
What'd you learn from that?
Everything. I mean, pretty much all the levels, business, how to run it. I mean, there's a lot of things where, this guy's got to be there. This guy would be better here. And I'm always chipping in with them like, hey, we should have this guy in this job, or switch it up, or
shuffle the cards,
have a different truck, or I think we need to buy a trailer, those kind of things. The business at school kind of taught me and brought me back, because he did environmental science in college. I did more of the business side of it.
Okay.
Like we talked about, my dad, did 2 years at Broward
business.
College.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But
so
then I came back in 2019, and then my dad's getting requests for putting greens, and I'm like, man, this is like a whole nother industry. It's totally different than landscaping.
Okay.
Before he came in, sorry to cut you off, we were getting so many requests for turf. This was before turf just blew up. You know what I mean? And I said, you know what, Shane? We need to do something about this. I hate sending out these referrals. We need to do it. So Shane took it over. It hasn't stopped.
So then we go, get requests. I'm like, man, what are we getting into? There's so many levels. There's
So
like
many things you gotta learn.
25 processes. I'm Googling, YouTubing. It doesn't give you enough information. I'm asking, competition. They don't want to tell me the answers. I'm meeting the owners of these companies. I'm driving by their jobs. I'm seeing what those guys are using. What type of wheelbarrows, it comes down to so much, like weed barrier,
just
what
to
type
add
of nails.
one service.
Exactly. And we try to make it all well-rounded, and that's on top of the landscapes, putting the lights and the boulders. I'm driving crews. I got machines, there's so much, trailers. And then, I go and I'm like, Dad, we need to go get like certified. So I got certified in artificial turf in Arizona about, like, what was that, 2021?
Why in Arizona? They don't have that here.
Arizona's like the pioneer of artificial turf.
What
They've
school
been
is
around.
that?
What is it?
Where'd you go?
What was the name of it?
We went to a conference.
Yeah.
Hold on. Turn the mic.
We went to a conference down outside Scottsdale,
Okay.
and it was a synthetic turf council.
Okay.
And only a
STC.
handful of people get certified. So
Okay.
you go there, and it's like a 3-day symposium.
How much was that?
It was pretty expensive,
It was?
actually, to do that. It was like
Okay.
$2,000 a person.
$2,000 for the ticket
For just to participate
class.
as a spectator, not being a
Oh,
vendor.
okay.
And then you have your hotel and all that.
Yeah,
so
and
it's
flight and everything.
wasn't a cheap thing, but it introduced us to another level of this is, like you said, where the ground support was with these industries.
learn the process and learn it all the proper way
Right,
and everything
right.
else that you guys
Yeah, because
learned
they've
there.
been doing it for 20 plus years out in Arizona.
That's cool that
because-
they do that.
And then it went to California, then to Texas, and now it's coming here full time.
Okay,
and
some
it's
of you
exploding.
guys that are into turf or you want to get into turf or you suck at turf and you're trying to get better at turf, look into what is the name of it again?
Synthetic Turf Council.
Synthetic
STC.
Turf Council.
Yeah.
You already know. Okay, so
So we
keep
flew
going.
out there, and then we're learning from, basically it's all the manufacturers and the head guys, the head honchos. They're all providing like information. Go here, learn about this.
That's a
Different
bunch of
type
CEOs talking basically.
Exactly. Different
That's
type-
crazy, man. That's a blessing
A
that
lot
they
of
even
people,
do that.
like hundreds
Yeah.
of people,
Huge
in the
event.
lobby of a hotel, and we stayed at the hotel. The hotel has 2 golf courses that were beautiful that we played at later in the day. I mean, everything was like top notch.
Okay.
Like we want to go back just on like a vacation type thing.
Okay.
But then we meet like the pioneer of the artificial turf, Joe Watkins.
Wow.
This guy comes in, looks at our Instagram. He's like, these companies, top notch. Like he follows us. He's like, endorsing us.
Wow.
He,
Look at that, man.
And then he DMs me, and then we talk, and that was the guy, because like I said, all these companies, competition, they don't want to give you the insight. So I call this guy. I call up Joe. Yo, what do you think about this? And he would give me that. So that's how
Wow.
I became
Better.
to get propelled quicker.
Real quick, a word from our sister company, the sponsor that makes all of this happen, A's Ornamental Nursery. Man, when we started off, our mission was to make a difference, make an impact with the product. We definitely have done that, but we've kicked it up many notches, servicing landscapers that were tired of looking for product, garden centers tired of looking for product, tying it all up together, delivering it, locating it, delivering it, getting it done, saving so much time, giving you guys back your life is what we've really done. Find problems, create solutions, team up with great people, and build lifetime bonds through relationships that really make an impact. So with that being said, guys, reach out 305-216-5320. Ask for Daisy. Tell her you got a list. We'll get an estimate back to you within 48 hours, and let's start it. Now let's get back into the episode. Wow. So
Because it's one thing to learn on the job,
Mm-hmm.
but it's another thing to learn from a pioneer and then put it on the job. So it's already like you're kickstarting your work.
You're playing it in your mind, so
Yeah.
when you're there, you already did it.
Exactly. It's like it's like you fail, but then it's like you're already jumping that failure.
That's what a coach, mentor,
Exactly.
that's what they do. They propel you
Exactly.
way past wherever you are, and they take you to another
I didn't
place.
know that there's different types of applications. There's rooftops, there's balconies, there's concrete, there's regular dirt, there's
Everything
front
is-
yard, backyard.
The
there's-
installation's different.
I've
on
done
each-
indoor. I've done gyms. There's so many. And
Yeah.
nobody understands the level of detail, the level of hard work that goes into it, because we're in 100-degree weather working.
No, and on
hard,
turf.
hard,
Guys,
hard.
I don't know if you've ever been on turf. So my
Hard.
son plays baseball. We did a little traveling game, and we played on a field that had synthetic turf. Boy, it was hot. I was like, why are they putting these in for these kids? It was too hot. So imagine working on that all day. You're on this project for 5 days. You have to finally, after all the details of prepping everything, because everything's in the prep, now you go to lay out the turf, and you're on top of that for 2 days, refining everything, blistering heat, 100 degrees, the sun banging off that turf. These boys.
But I just got like sayings, you gotta wanna. It's always something,
Yeah.
You just gotta have that extra grit because what I like every day, I'm like the heart of the guys, like if I'm, lazy, they're gonna be lazy. So
You
I
see
can't
that.
be like that. I
But
gotta
you see
be
that.
100%. So they're 100%.
Yeah.
We're not taking lunch at 12. We're taking lunch at 1:30. Just so we can get
And it is what it is.
this done.
Yeah.
Like there's like checkpoints throughout
Yeah.
the job that we make sure it's got to be there. So like if we need something, I'm running to get it, come back, just to keep the flow of the jobs going. And it's every day, there's multiple jobs. My brother's calling me about this job. It's like
Yeah, you're all over the place. You guys got a million things going on.
keeps it fresh. So I'm more on site of every job.
Okay.
Yesterday I showed up and it was noon and he was on his sixth shirt.
Yeah. I had them all hanging up on the fence, 6
He
of
was on
them.
his sixth shirt.
It's
So
dying.
hot.
Dude, it's hot, man. I was with my kids yesterday running around and I posted some stories. I don't know if you guys saw them. And dude, we were drenched, and it is what it is. Those days for me, sweating all day, luckily I don't have to do that right now. But it can happen tomorrow, and I'm excited. I love that. I love
But at
being
the end of
outside
that
hot.
job, you forget about all the heat and all that because you got the final product.
Yeah.
And you see
Client's
in the
happy.
client. It's all about the
And
client.
what makes me the happiest is when I see my guys taking pictures of the job because that
Yeah.
makes me
Your
feel like
boys.
they're
Yeah.
actually
Caring.
caring
They're
about,
caring about it.
and passionate about what they
invested in
do.
it.
It's not just like, hey, I'm collecting a check on Friday and that's it. They care about every day.
What do you think makes them like that?
Shane's passion.
Yeah.
Shane has so much passion for what he does. I mean, look at his chain. He got a gold chain that says Turf Life on it.
Turf life.
Turf life. Look at that, dude.
He's got
a-
Foxy turf life.
Came back from Arizona and I call up the jeweler and I'm like, I'm in. I'm all in, man.
He's
Man, you
all in.
guys
You
are
should
so
see his
cool,
trucks.
Yeah.
He's a big time mudder. Little off topic.
Okay.
He goes on his Can-Ams, but his whole truck is wrapped with ivy. He's the
Oh, yeah?
he's
I
the
drove
turf
to
guy.
Texas in March with my truck, a 45-foot trailer that I built, and then my 550 truck, and that's what I use for work. Dump bed, 4-door, it's badass.
Everybody knows
So
him.
you drove that truck
all the way to Texas,
all the way to
straight
Texas with a
through,
40-foot trailer.
45 with
45.
three side-by-sides on the back.
and he was at work the next
And I
day.
had a blowout in Louisiana on a Sunday, and I changed it by myself with no machines.
And it was worth it all, right?
Worth it all.
back to work on Monday.
Yeah, that's
But
that's
it's like
how it is.
it's like all these traveling adventures to different countries gets you like ready for these kind of situations because like we did like a hike in Guatemala or what was it, Panama with the volcano. It's like 14,000 feet, and I thought I was gonna die. I'm literally watching crosses. I'm like, Skyler, this might be it.
Tombstones.
Skyler's-
Akatananga.
He's watching my eyes go in the back of the
Go back a
head,
little bit.
and I'm like, yep. I love you, bro. This is it. This is how it goes down. No,
Yeah.
for real. I
For
felt
real.
empty. I'm watching a tent flap in the wind. It's cold. It's cloudy. It's 6 a.m.
What were you guys doing there?
We were hiking to the top of Volcan Akatananga in Antigua, Guatemala, and the hike starts at 1 a.m. And you're supposed
1
to
a.m.
you're supposed to summit at like 5:30, 6 o'clock, and you start in the dark, and you start out, when it's 70 degrees in Antigua, and then by the halfway there, you start to see blue light, and you look down, and all you see is look like
Like the
Small
frost?
World, in
wow.
Disney, and you see the lights glistening. By 5, 6 a.m., we get to the top, and you're literally looking above the clouds, and there's 3 volcanoes, and you're surrounded by volcanoes, and then literally, a mile away, there's Volcan Fuego, the fire volcano, and it erupts every 12 to 15 minutes. And me, Shane, and my best friend Trey, we sat up there, and no one said a word. I have goosebumps telling the story. You just sat there, and we're like, where are we right now? Because we all had altitude sickness, because we literally just went from 2,000 feet to 16,000 in a matter of a few hours.
4 hours.
You're supposed to
Chill.
Acclimate.
halfway, but we were like, we don't have time.
Uh-huh.
We went for it, and then Shane just talks about adversity and just pushing it. We all pushed each other. Halfway through, we're like, we can't do this, and I would push Shane, and then Shane would push me, then Trey would push me, and then we made it, and then no one said a word up there, and we just sat up there, and we're just like, where are we right now? This is crazy.
I'm just leaning on a rock, and my brother's got his arm around me, and we're watching this volcano erupt, and we're like, one more time erupt, and we're going back down. Because they didn't let us eat the whole ride up. So we haven't eaten all day. Yeah. Once we got down to the bottom, they let you eat.
So just traveling and experience these things. So Shane, that's what Shane's talking about, just adversity and getting through this heat, because it's 160 out there, you know what I mean, feels like. And then you adversity to push each other, pushes guys to take those photos at the end of the day, to appreciate that moment, to see a happy, satisfied client. You know what I mean?
You guys'
relationship stronger.
Yeah,
exactly.
You guys are like brothers, but like with the real definition of brothers.
We have our next big trip is we're going to Chile.
Okay.
Going to Chile for my bachelor trip in about 26 days.
Okay.
And we're going to do some crazy hikes out there. And it's just more of a bonding thing.
You guys post this anywhere?
Yeah.
Where do you post it?
Social media.
On your private page?
Private, yep, private. And also we'll post a little bit on our Showtime.
So this will be out by then. So if you guys are listening and you want to tag along, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah.
Man, it
all levels.
You guys are very interesting, man.
So when they were younger, we would travel to national parks. I was a national park geek, and I think there's 62 official national parks, like historic national parks in our country, and we've done 43 of them. And I'm not just saying we're driving through, and I'm saying we get out, we camp, we go in the backcountry, we do hikes, we do lake or river adventures, or whatever that park specialty is. So we've done 43 of them as a family over 20 plus years. They've taken it to the next level, though. So that passion of exploring and getting out in the backcountry is now worldwide and not just within the U.S. So that's kind of the gift. So I'm blessed that they're taking things to the next level.
Always gotta be better. Like he was saying earlier, always got to take that next step. And how can we take it to the next level? I actually will collect things. I'll go to places. I was just in the Galapagos 6 months ago, and I brought home a whole suitcase of artifacts that I install on jobs.
Wow.
So I even on this church, there's things I've brought back from Ecuador, Honduras, Nicaragua, and I'll bring them to jobs, and I'll put them in the design, and I'll tell people, because I have
This is from Ecuador.
This is from Ecuador.
Here.
If I have a client, I save things. I have a whole shop I store things. You know what? This is a perfect opportunity for this unique hand door knocker. You know what I mean? That I collected in Mexico City. You know what I mean? Right on that front door, there's a door knocker I collected in Mexico City, just for this, and I sit on it. I wait for the right job. So when I go to Chile, I go down there. I'm gonna buy 2 suitcases, and I'll see things. I'll go to an old place to be like, how much for that? They're like, it's not for sale. I said, how much for it? And I'll buy it. Just so I can incorporate it, because we're trying to be artists.
You guys are different. Listen, I have 2 things. One, I want to talk about your collection fever that you have. And then the other thing I want to talk about, because it goes into this, one thing that a lot of men struggle with through their careers, because I feel like the people that are listening to this point in this podcast, we're invested people. Yes, we're in this industry and we love our industry. But there's so much more to who we are as people, humans, and things we got to overcome. My question to you is, how were you a dad of 2 or 3? What do you have? Two
boys.
Two boys. How were you a dad of 2, being able to travel to all these different national parks and take them here and go to New York and fly here and go there and go this and do this? How were you able to do that while running a business?
You have to make time for it. You have to just put it on the list and say, we're going to go and do this. So everybody knows how brutal our summers are here weather-wise in the summer in South Florida. So every year I would go in August somewhere generally cooler, which is generally the Northwest or the very Northeast, Maine, or wherever it would be. So you have to put it in the calendar and just make it happen, because otherwise it won't, because there's always going to be something that supersedes that day. So you have to schedule it first and foremost.
You saw it, for me, I think you saw it as a priority.
100%.
Did your wife have anything to do with that?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of
She
course.
would push you and say, hey, I don't care, we're going.
Yep.
I don't care.
So she's a school teacher, another 30 plus years in the system of Broward County teaching.
Okay.
And she's the same thing off in the summers. So at the end of summer, we'd always have a goal to look forward to, It's funny because, I would do like 2 weeks a year. It'd take a week miscellaneous throughout the year, a couple days, a week here or there. and then a full week or 10 days at the end of summer. And I just feel so blessed to be able to do that, you know, and I, you know, just feel like, you know, being able to have freedom over your time is such a reward, you know, being able to do what you want to do when you want to do it, you know, I mean, because I can take off any day of the year I want, but I don't. You don't.
No. You're doing what you want to do.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
This is what I want to
control
do.
your
So after that second Monday comes around, if I'm traveling, I'm bored. I'm like, I've done this already. I need to be back in South Florida, you know? So it's just in my DNA, and I'm driven that way. And that's part of, I think, what I do for consistency and success.
I think a lot comes down to trust as well in the crew and how we've built, you know, the empire.
Yeah.
A lot comes down to the trust
100%.
of we can leave for 2 weeks and we know the job's going to get done.
Yeah.
And be professional and nothing's going to happen.
You guys have a very good culture in your business. And
Huge.
then huge culture. Yeah. And then I also see that this is the most important thing probably of this whole podcast. And this is something I was talking to a couple buddies last night. It was 1 a.m. and I was still at their house. And what we were talking about there was, one of the things we were talking about was like a work-life balance. So like, how do you figure that out? And I was like, well, there's really no way, you know, to figure that out. For me, I prioritize my time. I prioritize my day, and that is the most important thing. So anything that I have that is a priority for me, myself personally, I figure out a time slot to put that in, and I make sure I get that done. Whether it's something that I have to do for work, or if it's something I got to do for my kids, my wife, myself, my home, whatever that is, I have to prioritize that. And by doing that, you live a life that's very purposeful, and then you're full, energetic, 100% in during that time. Execution throughout your whole day. And that's something, like I'm at work for 7 hours a day, like physically, 6 hours, 7 hours, that's it. But we are going hard during that time. And then I might have baseball with my kid. Guess what I'm doing? I'm the coach. I'm an assistant coach. And then I get home, and what am I doing? I'm helping my wife. And we're getting it done, you know, and creating that life, you know, based off of what I feel I need to be doing. Not so much of, you know, limiting myself. It's more like taking it by the reins, and I feel like that's something that you've done from when you were younger, and having a good wife that tells you, I don't care, you're gonna figure it out. Oh, you got $5,000 of bills? Cool. Yeah. That's not my problem. That's yours. Congratulations. We're still going on the trip.
Absolutely.
You get me? So by no, for real.
Yeah, that's how.
That's what it is. Having a woman with a backbone, she shapes a man that can become unstoppable, in many ways. And some guys need that. Some guys don't like that. I was talking about that with Eddie. Some guys don't like that, and that's cool. They want to be the dominant, cool, this and that, whatever. But it makes sense. They see things from a different perspective than we do, because we're so caught up in, like you said, all I think about is what I'm doing all day, and that's how we all are. Right. You know?
Specify that that's how it is now.
That's how it is now.
Like that,
yeah.
Don't make people think that, you know,
No, that's how it is now. Like you figure that out over time. You know?
The key is, people ask me, you know, we're 31 years in, 33 years in next week. 33-year anniversary, right. All right, that we've been married. And they're always ask me, how do you make it work? It's a 51-49% balance of power in our relationship.
Okay.
The key is every day it changes on who has the 51.
Okay.
All right, so nobody steers it on a permanent basis.
Okay.
So we give and take, and I don't mind being in the driver's seat as much as I need to be, or in the passenger seat, you know, so it goes back and forth. So longevity, again, being the stake here, is that, you know, you don't want to go through life always being a secondhand fiddle and not having any control of your destination.
Of course.
But at the same time, you want to be fair to those around you or your partner and allow them room to grow and steer the ship, like I've done with my boys. Real quick on that note, so I knew both of my boys were going to get college degrees. You know, I said, wherever they want to go to school, great, they're going to go and get an education, right? Get a scholarship and get an education. And I said, when you come out of school, you go do whatever you want to do. But if you don't have anything that, you know, you're set on, you always have the business as something to come back to. So both of them went to college thinking they're going to go do something else. All right. True story. Both of them, they're 3 years apart. So his story is 4 years, because he did his master's a year longer. 4 years to the day, they both called me going into their senior year and said, Dad, I think when I graduate, I want to come back and work in the business. So they work. The best thing that, in my opinion, they ever did in college was go to work for other people. They got the experience, And they thought, you know what? I'm kicking ass and nobody appreciates me. I'm just a number.
Yeah.
I know if I come back here and kick ass, I can do something.
No, you make an impact.
And that's what they've done. So to me, that's invaluable, you know. But giving them the freedom to make that decision, because I'm not the guy that says you're coming back when you graduate. You're doing this. They're going to be miserable the rest of their life, knowing that I made that decision of life for them and not them.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, too, God makes that decision on purpose, and you don't want to rob your kid from their purpose. You want them to find their purpose. And I feel like both of them are in seats right now, in chairs, that they are allowed to be in their full, potential of what they're supposed to be doing right
Absolutely.
now. And that might change
It's
over
good
time.
recognition.
Very good
You
recognition.
have a lot of good spiritual qualities about you.
Thank you.
You have good energy, seriously. I only met you, an hour ago, but as soon as you got
Right when
out
you
of your
showed
truck,
up. Right when you showed up.
you're just cut differently, man. You just
I love you
got
guys.
something about you
Yeah.
that is positive chi,
Amen,
that
man.
makes, everybody around you,
Feel the
bounce
love.
a little bit higher,
That's what it's about, man.
Yeah.
God puts you in places for reasons, and we don't understand why. And sometimes it might be scared because you're going based off of where you are that you haven't done, and you're looking at the journey. You're like, dude, I can't climb that 14,000. I can't climb that. And I'm sitting there. I'm thinking, with my brother Eddie, that I promised him. I made promises to this guy that we got to come through on, because we're men. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, who am I? I had the devil on my shoulder telling me, who do you think you are, man, to do a podcast for the industry? Who do you think you are? At the time, I was 32 years old, and I realized that I am somebody in this industry. Who's 32 years old that has been able to sit in the chair that I've been able to sit in and shake the hands and come through and create opportunities, and who sets up garden centers for people? Who really cares about their customers like I do? Who's willing to invest $200,000 into this service to provide a new service for a customer that hasn't been done before, just because you see that there's a need for it? Investing here fearlessly and doing all of these different things, that's not normal. No friends, nobody around me. I'm fly by myself on the plane.
Yeah. I'm
I'm like, no, God, thank you. Let's go. I don't know what it is, but and then I told my father, I said, Dad, this is the like the scariest thing I've ever done, because everything that I've invested my money and time into, I know what the outcome's going to be. So if I go do 10 more acres, I know I'm going to make $300,000 more a year. 400, it's going to cost me $1 million to set up, whatever. I know all that. I know my timelines. I know all that. This, I have no clue what is going to come, what's next. Look, I didn't know I would have been here with you guys today, and it's all based off of, for me, it's based off of the life that he wants for you and purpose for you. My wife's doing her thing, taking care of what she's got. My kids are doing their thing, and everybody's taken care of. I got 70 guys back at the farm. Everybody's doing their thing. Yeah. We're all going. And if a guy's sitting in the truck hanging out, who cares? That guy's busted his balls. He could sit in the truck and have lunch with the truck turned on and use $3 of gas and diesel. Who cares? I'm not that guy. Yeah. There's no micromanaging. There's none of that. I trust in God. Everything is His. So the same guy you pray to, He's the same guy that has all this. So if you steal from this, you're stealing from Him, and you're going to ask Him for something tomorrow, it's not going to show up, dude. Put your 100 in. Let's go. We're here. We're blessed. We have opportunities. We got orders. Let's go. And then we're going to sit here and we're going to create more opportunities in a different way. The strategy is different than anybody else's. There's no one that plays a strategy. You shouldn't have a strategy that someone else has. You need your own, because we're all different. You can't buy a course and learn. You can't go to college and learn. You can, but you're limited.
Right.
You're
doing what's been done already.
Everything is different. You got to go based off what you feel and what life presents to you. Like, you guys have taken what your dad, who knew that from you guys going on all these trips and all that, the influence would be so huge. And your dad having to overcome whatever he had to do to make your mom happy, or for them to realize that, yeah, this is what I need in my life. I need to own my time. Your dad didn't show up and just have that. He learned that. And now look what it's done in you boys. And then you guys are going to instill this stuff in your kids, and it's just going to be different. You guys are different. You're cut from different thread. And it's just very powerful to be sitting here with guys like you guys. And this is all stemmed from a DM on IG that if I wouldn't have done that, or I would have been like, oh, that's cool, man, look at that. Next, I would have never saw you guys. We would have never been making these, impactful memories together. And I don't know, man.
Glad it all worked out.
Yeah, it takes time. You gotta go through hell to realize that what is an actual light. you know, and that's what it is. You can't, for me, you can't be scared to go on something that you feel you should be doing. Like, of course you're not going to know the answer because you're using the tool bag. You have the tool bag that's real light from Harbor Freight that doesn't have the tools you need. But as you go, if it's purposeful, you know, because you're going to get all the tools you need. You're going to get the money you need, the connections you need. Everything you need is going to show up because what you're meant to do is for everyone. It's a greater purpose, and it's a gift that you have to do. That's why you're here. And then when you figure that out, you wear different lenses. You have spiritual lenses, you have worldly lenses, and you have those views. It's game over from there. You're unstoppable, because you're not propelling your life. You're going after something else, and all the pieces get put together. That's why we were meant to do the podcast today, and we weren't meant to do it on the day that we had initially planned. You know, and that's why I don't trip about things in life. It's like, oh, okay, cool. No, he's good. You know, people owe money. Cool. No, they'll figure it out. I know they're gonna figure it out. And I don't make the phone call, and we'll get the attorney, all that stuff. We have to, but let's let the guy, you know, marinate and make the right decision. Let's let him make the right decision. You know, and think differently.
I love the thought process on that.
So we have a question that we ask to all of our guests, and the question is, what do you think about this industry, you know, positive, negative, for the future, for let's say young men and women, or people that want to get into it that are amateurs, like rookies, let's say, not amateurs, rookies?
I think the industry presents people that are what I call AC/DC, that are not organized and disciplined, doing the same thing every day. There's two cuts of people. You know, you either want to do something different every day and not know the outcome, or you want to know you're going to go in a box and know, you know, at 5 o'clock on Friday what the end result's going to be. Those really two, and we as a society need both of those lanes.
Yeah, neither of them are wrong.
No,
right.
right, correct. I'm just saying,
it's all based off the person.
You kind of know what lane I'm in, right? So if you're in one of those lanes, there's opportunities for you in this industry, because we need both those people to survive in this industry. You got to have the growers that grow the stuff and have an end result that in X amount of period, it's going to go from here to there and out the door. And then you got to have these people on the other side that have to market that and get it out, you know, to those people.
And then the landscapers that buy it and put it in the ground, and the designers that are using these things and putting them in designs.
Correct. So the industry, I think, is unlimited, you know, as far as opportunity. It's a phenomenal industry. I wouldn't be where I'm at today without it, and I encourage it. Obviously, I brought my family into it. I built my life around it. I'm going to die. It's the only thing I'm ever going to do. I never once said I wish I was doing something else. I always tell people if I had to do this all over again, I would do the exact same thing again. It's been that kind of blessing in my life. So I think if people come into this industry, it's whatever they want to do has opportunity. Okay, that's the thing. I mean, you know, as far as where we're going to get our plants in the future, that might be more of a resonating question to be asked for farmers in South Florida. You know, ornamentals, edibles. I mean, it's unlimited. You know, we used to be the winter crop of tomatoes on the planet was in Homestead. Now it's just in Immokalee. And in a few years, if that will even exist in Immokalee anymore. So as far as, you know, winter crops, you know, basically is what we're talking about. You know, but something else will evolve. It's just going to be a shift of location where those future crops are going to come. They'll probably come from shade houses. They'll come from, you know, North Florida. They'll come from, you know, South Texas. They'll come from Costa Rica, you know, where land is cheap. That's really what's going to come down to, because we live in paradise in South Florida. We all know that. Growth is our economic engine down here. Number one, building is our economic industry. People say we don't have an industry, and that's true to an extent, but the number one industry is growth and building and new people coming into the state. It always has been, and it basically always will. And it really originated when Disney built in Central Florida. You know, he brought attention to Central Florida. So we're basically from the 70s till now, 50 years of development and growth. And you can't knock that because it's been happening forever, you know. So when you're seeing development happen in agricultural lands, it's been happening. where we're sitting today was I bought this property. I'm only a third owner on this property.
Wow.
It was a citrus grove, an abandoned citrus grove, sat here for 7 years. I've been here 30 years now.
Okay.
Been on this property
Wow.
30 years. It sat for 7 years. Everybody wanted the house, but they didn't want the land to go with it. That's how much land was available 30 years ago in Broward County. So it's real ironic how things have shifted. But this whole area was citrus groves. Next to us is a nursery. Was the last citrus grove in Broward County that was active, and it was 100 acres. And now it's a development. So I've seen paving over agricultural properties my whole life. So it's been happening, but the key with that is it's happening an acre a day, and you don't realize it until a couple years go by and you see hundreds, if not thousands of acres disappear. But it's happening every day. But it's just a shift of dynamics. It's like you can't have one without the other. You can't have a sustained society in South Florida without having some new homes going up. I mean, it really just comes down to that and the demand for that. I don't agree with it. I don't like it. I wish we were still, but being realistic, it's the way it's always been. I mean, my house I grew up as a kid was an old farm, but we're talking in the 60s, so it goes back to the first houses that were ever built here were all farms.
And they're gone now.
And they're gone now. So you can't say, oh, well, you have to preserve that last 100 acres. No, you should have said that when you had 1 million acres left to preserve. You can't just cherry pick because they're dwindling, because that's what's brought people down here, for the last 50 years. And really now we're talking generational, change and whatnot. So, if you want, and I'll end with this on this subject, is that, you go to the end of the dirt road and you buy property there, and someday it's going to be a paved road with light and a Walgreens on the corner. It's just a matter of how long it's going to take there. But that's the development of every area in South Florida. In the years past, it might have taken 20 to 30 years to get there. Well, now it's going to take 2 to 3 years to get there. It's just that highway has been sped up in that sense. But I think there's always going to be a demand for ornamentals. There'll be even a bigger demand for edibles. We have to worry about, where we're going to get our food crops in the future. I think that's always going to be high on the list. And those that grow good, organic, healthy foods will always have a market.
100%.
Okay? And the more you do it, the more we're going to be in tune to it.
Fulfilling a void, seeing a problem, creating a solution. I follow someone that's local, and they do beef from their farm to the table. Basically, they send it to you. You can order online, and they package it and they deliver it to you. Man, they have 20,000 likes. I think
they sell out
on one little post.
Those kind of places sell out a crop ahead of time.
Yes,
they can't supply enough of it. Right.
There's little calves come in, and they're like, all right, well, this one's Johnny's calf right there. That's Jay, on the back leg. It's wild.
Yeah.
You guys' logo is a frog, to the point where you, in a text message, even send me a little frog at the end of your sentence, and I was like, these guys are cool. Talk to us about the frog.
So, like the mouse at Disney,
okay,
the house that Walt built, I had a frog when I first started. I needed something. This goes way beyond the Geico gecko guy.
It's the red-eyed tree frog.
Yeah. So the idea was to have something that was always hanging out. So I had my first truck airbrushed. I had one of these airbrushed on the mirror on the truck that he'd hang out with me all day as I'm driving around. And again, going back, I used to drive the dump truck every day with two guys. That was the company, me and two guys. And then you evolve. But yeah, he's been with me since the very beginning of time. So he's just a happy tree frog. You just look at him and he just feels happy. There's life and whatnot. So everything we've always done is incorporated with the frog as kind of our kind of support. Yeah. So.
And with your boys, the frog is some to the point where your son's sending it in a DM to a guy he doesn't know.
He's got a necklace on.
Look at this necklace.
And you got a necklace with a frog.
Yeah.
It's cool, man. You guys bring an edge and a touch that's different. What you guys create is the feeling. You create that space, that oasis, that someone walks in and they get a feeling, and that is very hard to do. It's a gift, and you guys are going full throttle on the gift. And I don't know. I'm excited to see what the future holds for all three of you boys. In just 5 years, see where Showtime is, and see what else you guys have done and where you're at, because you guys are very creative. You get things done. You don't play around. It pops in your head. You're like, all right, I can't do it now, but we're going to do this. Hey, put on the calendar, June 2025, we're going to start this project.
We're making big moves. We got 3 artists, and then we just hired another artist, Diego. We call him Diego the director.
Okay.
And he's going to take us to new heights.
Yeah, you guys have something that's very powerful because you guys have 3 minds focused on the future, 3 minds focused on today. They make decisions, and that is tough. Most people are sitting by themselves, like people listening to this podcast, trying to figure out one thing, and you guys get 700 things done in one day.
Just got to go for it.
You got to go for it, yeah. So when we came in here, this whole property has a lot of just trinkets all over the place. So the dad is a collector of plants and trees, and then the boys are into random pieces that he sees that are very intricate for him.
Something like I was in the Galapagos, saw a piece of blue wood that's been painted 3 times, floating. I grab it, and it's a beautiful piece of teak painted blue from a boat. I turned it into a clock, and I mounted it at someone's house in their outdoor kitchen.
Okay, but
A nautical clock.
that's not normal.
No, I
You
know,
get
it's
me?
not normal,
That's
I know.
not normal, dude. So you have a gift.
I'm working on creating a new website. At the bottom, I'm gonna have a shop. So
Okay.
things I collect, one of one.
Oh,
So this is
wow.
kind of like my hobby. I collect something. I'm gonna retrofit it to make it something functional,
Yes,
and
and then
people
you'll
can
sell
buy
it.
it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I collect.
And then
from around the world.
From around the world, and then you're into signs.
Yeah, so this goes back, I'd say 12, 13 years with my dad. Back when I was just starting college, I was at Broward. My brother's doing baseball in college, so my dad and I would travel in our Nissan van. We would just go around and meet people, get connections, network and get signs. And it's not just, signs. They all have character,
Yeah.
different.
A story.
Yeah.
They all have a story.
There's stories of how they were made, how they were, preserved, and how we got them, and that's what we love.
The mecca for that stuff is like Georgia, the Carolinas. I went to Flagler College. I played baseball there. And, that we were in the Peach Belt Conference, which is all North Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. And that's the mecca for the old school signs, the vintage
The
Coca-Cola
collectors
signs.
are there. Everybody's there.
Not even. No, they're driving in the back roads to get to the places.
Sleeping in the van. We would sit in the back of the auction so we could scan the crowd, who we were bidding against. And then it's crazy. That's like 10 years ago. And then we just met a guy 2 months ago, and he's like, man, I remember you guys bidding against me. You got that one sign, It's
For real?
It's crazy, man.
So tell us about the sign you just picked up, because that's what one of your most exciting signs.
I'm in Tampa.
Listen to this story, guys.
It's
And
just,
you drove to Tampa just for it.
yeah, I was on a Sunday.
No, but how does this happen? You called, you got a phone call, you called somebody?
Yeah, I met another guy. He collects signs in Tampa area. He goes to different malls, and he's a locksmith. He's really tied in with all these sign collectors. The sign industry is really tight.
Okay.
Everybody knows everybody.
Okay.
It's kind of like the plant industry.
Okay.
So I meet this guy. This guy doesn't want to buy this sign. It's too much for him. So I'm like, all right, give me his number. I take a picture of his phone, which had a number. Call him. He doesn't answer. He calls me back like 2 weeks later. He's like, you want to buy these signs? I'm like, yeah, like tomorrow. It's like, no, I can't. 2 weeks goes by. I call him back. He calls me. All right, let's meet. And then he's like, you're not going to meet me at my house.
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
go to a credit union.
Okay.
I'm like, all right, whatever.
That's cool.
It's in Brandon. It's like right outside of Tampa. I was at like 5 o'clock. I'm like, yo, I'm here. Where you at? No answer. I wait there for 2 hours.
And you drove this. Like
Yeah, I'm calling the other guy that
hooked.
hooked me up. The other guy that hooked me up, he's calling this guy like, yo, that guy's there. He's ready to buy it.
Just drove 3.5 hours.
So I end up leaving. Left. I'm like, dude, drove all the way to Tampa, driving home. Literally driving home with nothing. The guy calls me up. I'm so sorry, man. I missed your call. Are you going to be there? I'm like, I'm turning around right now. Turned around on the middle. Drove through a tornado. No joke.
Oh, my
Drove
God.
through a tornado by myself on a Sunday at 7 o'clock. and I'm like, who am I meeting?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I show up, credit union, this guy hops out. He's got a Toyota Tundra, blown out windows. The guy's like, peace, brother. Everything's like, very hippie vibes. Very. He had a buddy, next to his car, kind of like, is this guy for real? Like, he didn't think I was going to buy the signs because, like, we're talking money, this guy doesn't have 2 nickels to rub.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, yo, package deal. I'll take these both signs. He's like, really? Buy them, dude. It's like crazy though. This guy, installed the signs way back in the day, and then he got the call to take them back down because they stopped doing.
Where at? What is this? What are the signs?
This is the Tiger King, the actual big cat rescue. The 2 signs that they had for their actual business, and it's insane. It's just
Carol Baskins.
Carol Baskin, yo. It's
I love how you ask.
It's just
like,
so
like if you're interested.
it's just like
I haven't heard the
Was
full
that
story.
Carol
This
Baskins?
is hot. This just happened like last weekend.
This is like last weekend.
You just got
Have you
these.
taken a picture with it and posted it and tagged everybody?
No,
We
You
just
should do
hung it
that,
up.
bro.
We just
Yeah.
hung it up.
If you do that, you might, I don't know. God knows what
I know.
opportunity will stem from that.
it was insane. So the guy's like, "Are you gonna auction these off? Are you gonna quadruple your money?" I'm like, "No, we're keeping them
Keep 'em.
forever.
Yes.
Like you'll never see these signs again, buddy,
Wow.
ever." So it's just crazy. It's those type of interactions though. You meet people that just kind of like I'll never forget that guy for the rest of my life. I'll remember that guy, how he smelled, how he looked, everything. It's insane. And I'm by myself. I'm scared. This guy had a buddy there, like watching his back. I don't have anybody watch my back. I got all this cash in my pocket. White truck. Just drove there by myself on a Sunday.
Yeah.
It's just what I want to do though. It's like
Part of the adventure.
to be able to get those signs. That's the ways I got to go. That's
No, and then you're
Shows passion.
like
It
last
shows passion.
weekend, I drove to Tupelo, Mississippi by myself. Left work Friday night after work, drove straight through to Mississippi. I got a Texaco, double-sided Texaco 7-foot sign. But I really got it because we got a pole, and my dad used to work for Texaco back in the day, so it meant something to me. So I went and got it. And on the way, meet 4 or 5 other people to make it worth your time.
Yeah, so
it's just,
you're optimistic. It's more than
It's more than just sign
it's more than
collecting.
just a sign collecting. It's what's gonna happen and what's gonna stem from it and create opportunity. You're creating opportunities, paving a path that's different, and you're using them. You're keeping them here, which makes this place filled with
one of a kind.
character.
because it's one thing to have
And
the
you're all into
cave
it.
and concrete,
Yeah.
but when you have signs and different elements, there's layers.
Dude,
We're
this
not
place
just
is cool.
landscapers. We're not just
No.
turf people.
No.
We're everything.
You guys are another. I'm telling you guys are different.
Yeah.
And then you collect plants, which is he collects plants, guys. So the dad collects plants for you guys that are listening, and then you think about opportunities, right? So we were talking, and he collects specimens, right? And then for you guys that are in the industry, and or let's say you're not in and you're trying to figure out where to fit in. My thing is jump in whatever opportunity gets presented to you, and then once you're in, you're gonna learn a lot more than just looking in, because you're gonna be within. So now let's say you're jumping in, you're like, all right, I want to be a plant broker, I want to sell plants, or I'm passionate about finding these beautiful trees and getting them in the hands of people that need them, to put them somewhere where they can leave a legacy, like what these gentlemen do today. You can fill a void of finding things that are intricate, that are different, that are funky. You get in these guys' heads, you learn what the industry's looking for, and you create a niche for yourself to find that. There are people that do specimens, and that's all they do. There's not enough of them. Some of them might not be traveling as much as you should, shaking as much hands as you should, because I know some of them and they don't. It's like the passion's there, but it's not 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, they're not all in.
So you go in and you find these specimens, and you go shake the old lady's hand that has that specific tree in the yard that's been there for 20 years, and you ask her, hey, if I gave you $4,000 for this tree, would you let me buy it? Yeah. Okay, perfect. And you're like, man, I would have to sell this tree for $20,000. There's somebody that'll pay $20,000, and then they're not just gonna pay the $20,000. They have someone that'll pay $40,000 to get it shipped and installed, or $50,000. And you're like, what? Excuse me? Yes, guys, this market exists. There's a lot of different markets out there. It's based off of what people like. Money isn't a thing when you get to the top. Money doesn't matter. It's what you want. It's your time. It's the fulfillment. So when you understand that, anything's possible, and that's a niche that you guys can jump into. That you can fill a void that they would love to not have a guy that's like, dude, look at this, look what I just found, blah, 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 blah. And in 3 months from now, they can plug it into a job. And it's not just them. There's 100 people that do what they do, and you can be plugged up. I'm just giving you guys an example of an opportunity that can be bigger than you can imagine. And then it goes to shaking hands like he does with the signs, or collecting things. You stand out, you meet people, the adventure just becomes full fulfillment. You find out what you're supposed to be doing.
Life is all about connections.
Life is all about connections, relationships, 100%. Guys, and they have a hot sauce, guys. Showtime Landscaping hot sauce. You got cayenne.
So another story on the hot sauce real quick. Went to the Tabasco company in Louisiana, and I'm not a huge Tabasco guy. You know, I think it's kind of vanilla.
Me neither.
And even though nothing wrong with vanilla, it's
I'm authentic.
80% of the ice cream sold is vanilla. So there's a market for it, but I'm the 20%, right? So I came home from the Tabasco salt, experience out there because it's on a big salt preserve.
Avery
Island, and made my own. I've got some ingredients together and called the company, and they bottle it for us. So I've been doing this for probably 20 years, and we give it to clients or just give it as, instead of, a little thank you gesture. But it's actually very, very good. We've gotten a lot of good compliments on it. But that's just taking something and making a little twist on it, and to me, making it a little bit better. So the opportunity exists. If you look, art is everywhere. We get up in the morning, we're in the mirror, we're putting ourselves together to present ourselves. It's art. Good, bad, and indifferent, right? So if you approach everything that way, and if you look at everything as an art angle, your day is going to be a lot more interesting.
It's the perspective. Your perspective is very powerful. You don't even know it.
You need pops to introduce them to the world and to be open to the world.
Yeah.
That's all I hear from
Yeah,
from all this.
you guys have something very special just to be able to work together, grow together, create together, explore. All of that stuff, guys, is something very meaningful that many people like. Look what you had. You didn't have a dad. You had a mom that struggled. You didn't get those opportunities. 2 days to get to Disney. And then what did you do? You created something, you figured it out, and without even knowing, you showed your kids the world.
I think that was my gift, though, is that not having that and always wanting that. I always thought, it's a true story, I always wanted 2 boys, blessed with 2 boys. And I said, if I ever have a chance to raise my 2 boys, I will do like I would want to have been raised at the same time. And I think that's part of that. So I just feel like I'm blessed. And I appreciate your time coming out, and I appreciate what you're doing and exposing and encouraging for the industry, because we need the future of people to come and help our industry survive. And I know they will, because it'll always figure it out, and there'll always be opportunity there. And I think there's always a part of the population that likes to put sweat equity into things. And that's a big part of what we have to, our need in our industry. So I think that'll always exist. So, but thank you for your energy and coming out and seeing us as well.
We love what we do. It makes all the difference when we get to meet people like you. Today was like collecting a sign. We collected and we created a podcast.
Correct. Yeah.
So we're all creating out here, man.
Your collection is a lot better after
No. The collection's good when you go, regardless, And boys, our batteries are about to die. All right, guys, I hope you really enjoyed this episode. This, as the podcasts go on, we meet new people. They're all industry-based. They all have a passion for what they do in the industry, and they all have different stories. As you heard today, we got to speak with 2 sons and a father, and we got to hear a lot more than how they sell what they sell and all of those different tricks of the trade. You don't have to, what we learned today is different than things that we've learned on other podcasts. And I feel very touched to be here with these guys and to be doing this podcast. And for you that are still listening at the end of this podcast to be here, I want you to know that you are special. You are special, my friend. We love you, and we want this industry to thrive generations to come. And we're going to put our money where our mouth is, and we're going to continue to do this because that's what we feel called to do. And we're going to continue having powerful podcasts like we just did today. And if you guys feel inspired, you feel motivated to come on and share your story, give something creative, something new, something that we haven't touched. You have a big machine that plants pots, that pots plants, or God knows what you're doing out there. We want to be the spot where you can come and really talk and just get in your mind on how that was created, and let's share it with the world. That's what we're here to do, guys, create an impact. We love you guys. God bless you guys. Stay pumped, stay focused, stay optimistic, because I feel like we need that a lot today.
Strive for improvement.
It's showtime.
Time for the blueprint. Elevate, thrive, and demonstrate, planting a movement. Sow the seeds, educate the flourish, building up the team. Our network with purpose. Industry is green, only scratch the surface. No, this call is deep. Nobody gonna outwork us. Yeah, we chasing greatness, trying to give the code. Moving up with patience, foundation stone. Doing what it takes, we're here to break the mold. This for anyone who wanna level up. Let's grow.